If you want to know how I went from this to this without tracking a single calorie as a vegan, then keep on watching. How we doing, everybody? It's Cole Hastings. If you're new to my channel, it's all about vegan fitness and self-help, so consider subscribing or don't. Whatever you do, thanks for watching the video. So since I've started bodybuilding, I have not tracked macros consistently ever in my 5 years of bodybuilding, which is crazy to think about. But why do I do this? It's really just because I'm lazy. I could definitely track macros and I'd probably see more optimal results, more consistent results, but I find that how I intuitively eat gets me the results that I want without taking bodybuilding too seriously. So today I'm going to teach you how to do just that. And a quick disclaimer before we start, this does not guarantee you results. If you are super serious about losing weight, if you're trying to compete in a competition, or you just really want to see yourself gain muscle and you haven't been able to gain muscle at all, I suggest that you track your macros. That is the best and easiest way for you to see results with losing weight or gaining weight. So there is going to be two methods to intuitive eating that I'm going to go over in this video. The first method is a bit less like intuitive eating, and you'll understand why once we get into this. And the second is more so just straight up intuitive eating. If that doesn't make sense to you, let's go over them right now. Let's start with the first method. Firstly, you must start by tracking your first week of eating like you want to. Basically, you need to understand at the start how much calories is in each of these foods. I'm going to explain this right now. And you will only need to do this for the first week, actually. So what I suggest is writing down or using a tracking app, whichever one you choose, for a week on the typical foods that you eat throughout a given week. So the most typical healthy fitness foods that you eat, you're gonna wanna write down how much calories is in each of these servings. This is just basically estimating your macros for each food target after that first week where you understand, how many calories are in what you're eating. So for example, I have this pretty typical bowl that is basically like a burrito bowl every single week. So what I put in it is usually like a cup of brown rice. And I know that a cup of brown rice has about 200 calories. And the reason that I know this is because I just looked up the measurements, and since I understand that, even if I put 2 cups in, I could be like, okay, this is just about 400 calories. Then I'll usually add in something like tofu. So tofu, I'll usually use a little more than a serving of this. I won't even measure it actually. I just know that there's 5 servings per block of tofu, and I'll crumble in a little more than a fifth of that block of tofu. So I'm like, okay, that's about 100 calories. Then I'll have some other type of protein in there, maybe some vegan sausage. I know that these are about 200 calories per link, and I use about half a link, so I'm like, okay, that's about 100 calories in there. Then we will also throw in some beans sometimes. Beans, that's about, 50 to 100 calories there. And then I'll throw in some avocado, and I'll just know that this meal right here has a lot of protein. I put in tofu, vegan sausage, and beans, so I'm like, okay, the protein target's probably pretty solid for this meal. I don't really need to worry about that. And I'm so familiar with these foods, and I'll be like, okay, this bowl is about 600 calories. And you can do this with the protein aspect of it too. Carbs and fat aren't nearly as important as calories and protein for building muscle or losing weight, and building muscle while losing weight. So those are the two things that I really recommend you keep estimating throughout your week. And I'll do this for pretty much every meal I eat in the day, and then I will just add it up in my head at the end of the day. I'll be like, okay, I ate about, 3,000 calories today based on my estimations, and that's pretty good for me. Now for me, and for a lot of other bodybuilders, they like to eat the same exact things pretty much every single day. Like this whole week, this whole past 7 days, I've eaten pretty much the same exact meals every single day. So I just know that I'm eating enough calories, enough protein to gain weight, and I don't really have to think about it at all after that first week. It's really just that first week where you have to put in the work. And whenever I add a new meal to my diet where I start eating that consistently, I'll just use the same procedure and I'll adjust accordingly. If I have some random cheat meal, or like I go out to a restaurant, just don't even worry about it, guys. One meal is not going to make a huge difference in your diet. You're not going to magically gain a bunch of weight just because of one meal going out. So that isn't exactly intuitive eating. It's still kind of counting your calories, but it's just a really loose way to do it. It's a lot less rigid than going hard at tracking every single macro and obsessing over every single little thing you eat. With that method, you can really just enjoy any of the foods that you're eating without it being a huge problem if you go over or you don't hit your macros every single day. It's just for the people who are like casually bodybuilding, like not taking it super seriously. Number 2 is the method more for people who have detrimental mental health effects when they decide to count their calories, and they just eat what feels good and they eat how much they feel out. It is literally the definition of intuitive eating. It's eating intuitively, knowing how much to eat to lose weight and knowing how much to eat to gain weight or even maintain weight. Let me explain this. What I suggest for doing this is what I've done in the past to cut down and to get really shredded, although that is super easy on a vegan diet because the food's not as calorically dense as your typical traditional diet. So what I would do for this is I would just eat almost to the point where I feel full, but not to the point where I feel full. You get a little bit of an empty feeling in your stomach. If you're trying to lose weight, you're most likely going to have this feeling unless you're eating like a ton of fibrous foods, a ton of high protein foods, which you should be honestly, but even so, you're probably going to get a bit of an empty stomach feeling when you start to eat less calories than your maintenance calories. Again, this is no guarantee that you're going to lose weight or that this truly is under your maintenance calories, but it's a lot more healthy than obsessing over every single thing you eat. And this means you don't have to restrict yourself to certain foods. I mean, obviously, if you're trying to build muscle, you want to eat a lot of high protein foods and have pretty high carbs, but you don't need to have every single thing that you eat be optimal for building muscle. It's clear that if you're watching this video to this point, that you don't really care about that. You care about building muscle, but you don't want all those effects that come with tracking macros. And you want to get to the point just before feeling full, because if you're eating too little, if you're eating and you feel like a super empty stomach, this is probably going to cause nutrient deficiencies. You're probably just not eating enough calories in general to have enough energy throughout the day. And this is another thing that you need to feel out. If you feel that you're starting to feel like shit throughout the day by doing this, then you need to intuitively eat better. You need to eat a little bit more throughout the day, which you can still do and still lose weight, but it's likely that if you're really feeling that awful, you're probably not eating enough to begin with. And then as for gaining weight, especially as a vegan, you really just have to stuff yourself with food. Like, I'm in the process of bulking right now, and it is so hard for me to get past like that 215-pound mark because I really have to eat constantly throughout the day. And all of these meals have to be very, very big, and they have to fill me up. Like, I'm very stuffed after these meals, but I know that because I have this feeling of feeling so stuffed, it's that I kind of overate. And obviously bodybuilding is not a natural thing. Building muscle and gaining this much weight is not natural for our bodies to do this, but you know, it's worth it to have the physique you want and to, you know, feel good with this physique. That's why I really do it. But I'll find a lot of vegan foods that are calorically dense, like dark chocolate, like nut butters, like high fat foods, and olive oil too, which doesn't make you feel stuffed. And I'll just add more of these to my diet. And above all, what this practice should be doing for you is eating to feel good. Like, I do feel good despite stuffing myself sometimes. I do feel good with the amount of food that I eat. And intuitive eating has allowed me to develop a really healthy relationship with food where if I have cheat days or if I don't eat enough that day, two completely different sides of the spectrum. I'll have problems with both sometimes. It won't faze me as much because I've developed this healthy relationship with food where I don't really obsess over everything I'm eating all the time. And yet still, the gains come in without tracking macros, all thanks to these methods, which is dope. And I hope that this video helped you out a lot and that you're going to apply these practices. Now, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like on it. It helps out my channel. It'll help push this out to more people. Thank you guys for watching till the end. I hope this was entertaining, educating. Now, I'm gonna go eat, probably, and I'm gonna intuitively eat. So I'll see you guys in the next video.